going on LinkedIn real quick just to check.
You have taste.
Do you want to be really closer?
In a way that's meaningful to software people.
Huh?
Hello, I'm Bill Gates.
Are you sure?
I would recommend
Weird is better than
TypeScript.
boring.
Yeah, it writes a lot of code for me,
That's
and
true.
usually it's slightly wrong.
Good quote.
I'm reminded
Weird is
incidentally
better
of
than
Rust
boring.
here.
Rust.
Still
Yeah, I don't think I don't
This
think- I don't know
almost
why
makes
channel
me
shares.
happy that I didn't become a supermodel.
Tuber and Net.
Like I started.
Well, I'm sorry, guys.
Just recording.
I don't know what's going on.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today
All right.
on Large Neural Networks. It's really an honor to be here.
All
Rust.
right.
Welcome to
Oh, yeah. All right. Hello. Welcome to Data Topics Unplugged, your casual corner of the web where we discuss what's new in data every week. From ducks to domains, everything goes. Check us out on LinkedIn, YouTube. We're there. Actually, I'm not sure if we're LinkedIn, but feel free to leave your comment or questions or send us an email via datatopics@dataroots.io. Today is the 15th of October of 2024. My name is Murillo. I'll be hosting you today, and I'm joined by the one and only Bart.
Hi.
Hey, no guests today. We also have a different setup. I don't know if actually people that are listening us will be able to tell the difference, if it's going to be better quality or worse quality, the audio.
Yeah, curious about that. Yeah.
Indeed. But the people watching, for sure, they'll notice the difference that we are recording remote. So something new for this second season, let's say, of Data Topics Unplugged, but something that you'll be, well, I think people can expect more of this as well.
That we will maybe have to experiment or fine tune and tweak a little bit going forward.
Indeed. So I guess you could say, Bart, that we're working from home.
Indeed.
Huh. Talking about working from home, I see here working from. Yeah, I see that was pretty smooth. Huh? I didn't plan this. Working from home is powering productivity. What is this up? What's up with this part?
It's a report from the IMF, and it's about basically research into the effects on productivity due to working from home. And their findings is basically that they see a five-fold increase in remote work since the pandemic, which I guess
No surprises, right?
that's not surprising now. But also that there is a significant change in productivity, one that has been that is very singular in recent years. Like there's not been such a shock to productivity in recent years than working from home has been. Don't know the exact numbers. Let me just quickly see if I can.
But then, so basically, they're saying that working from home is more productive, or people are more productive in working from home.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a huge shock to productivity, in a good sense that productivity went up. That is something that they haven't seen such a big positive shock in recent years. And they say that both hybrid and remote work increased workforce participation. Also very
workforce participation. What is that?
Is that like what percentage of the potential workforce is actually working? And in that case, so that's even more than or just productivity. Is also meaning like the people that actually can work. So that also has a positive effect on disabled individuals, caregiver, rural workers that were not able to participate in the labor force before.
Cool, which makes sense. Huh?
Which makes sense. Also, apparently, a big shift in the office space needs, where there see like a bit of a transformation on city centers, freeing up real estate for residential use. They see these trends. I can't really pinpoint it to a practical example close by my door, but that's what the report says. This is a positive thing. Well, I think in macroeconomics terms, it's a very positive one. Not sure if for the individual always positive though.
What do you mean? Why wouldn't it be positive?
Like to me, working from home is also like it's very hard to a bit safeguard the boundaries between work and life. Like it's very easy to work a bit later. It's very easy to start a bit earlier. I mean,
I know what you're saying.
It takes a bit of
discipline
to manage that well.
Yeah,
and I think that also has an effect on on productivity, I wonder if that is in the good sense, of course. If you
Yeah,
cannot,
yeah, yeah.
if you do not
Maybe
have this discipline.
maybe it's not like, maybe it's like one workday, but maybe people are putting 10 hours in a workday now, right? So they're more, they produce more, but not because they are more efficient. It's just because they're actually stretching a bit. I felt that a bit in the beginning of Corona, actually, because it was just like, it was a bit new. And I also feel like having a space for working makes a big difference. You know, I think when Corona just started, like, yeah, I took the corner, the edge of my dining table, but then having the laptop always there present.
Yeah.
Nowadays I have an office, right? So it's like you close the door, like it actually makes a big difference. Huh? So
that's a good example.
So yeah, cool. And also, well, not cool. Well, maybe cool. Not sure. One thing that I do think is good is because now I feel like I have another argument. You know, some people says, "Ah, yeah, we need to be at the office like 4 days a week." I was like, "Yeah, but we need to, you know, studies show that productivity is actually high from home." And it's also interesting because somewhat recently, right? So I didn't prepare this, but maybe I just Google quickly an article that Amazon tells staff to get back to the office. Here it says 5 days a week. I'm not sure if it's actually 5 days a week. So this is from the 17th of September. So Amazon actually was telling people that they needed to go back to the office this year, right? Which I think surprised a lot of people. I think he made some noise as well. Like, is it maybe? Well, I don't know. What arguments would you have for telling people to go back to the office?
I think the blatant one is that you want to shrink your workforce, but you don't want to pay a fee to fire people. I think that is fun. I think another one, like, and it's also a fair one, is that if you're not good at things like project management, follow-up, if you don't have mature practices in place, a return to office is like an easy solution where it feels that you're might become more productive. Whether or not as a long term as benefits is a big question, of course. But I have the feeling that a lot of these companies that are announcing this, they grew very, very quickly during pandemic years, and they probably hire too many people. And this is a way to reduce your workforce, but while not motivating people to find another job.
Exactly. Yeah. I heard that argument. I also heard that it's easier to keep the culture if you're in person, which I think it's easier. I don't think it's impossible. And yeah, I also heard the argument of office spaces, that they have like empty offices, and and there's also possible that it's a mix of all the things, right? So, but yeah, I thought it was interesting in the sense that surprised me, but I wouldn't want to be in that situation, to be honest. I think, well, at least 5 days a week. I think I don't mind going to the office, but I also appreciate a bit of flexibility, especially if, like, where I'm originally from, São Paulo, there's a lot of traffic. So to go to the office also means you're spending like some hours of your day in traffic, right? Which is it's stressful as well. There's also other consequences, but yeah. Things can go wrong. Things could always be worse, right?
There's actually an interesting website which is called hubblehq.com, and they have an overview, like a page. I will add it to the show note. If you Google for companies workplace strategies, Hubble HQ, like you have a big list of companies and their stance on remote work.
No, it's not this.
No, it's not. That's their main website. It'll add it in our private chat here, and then you can open it.
Thank you. Yeah.
It says, like, for example, Morgan Stanley, they 5 days at the office. Microsoft 2 to 3 days at the office. They have a hybrid model. JP Morgan 5 days. Amazon 5 days. Canva depends on the role, which also makes sense. So, like, not all roles are suited to do remotely.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, but that's interesting. I didn't know this information was all public.
Twitter, 5 days.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
It's an interesting to see a bit like how the space is evolving.
Indeed. All right. What else we got here? Zapata AI. What is Zapata AI, Bart?
Well, to be very honest, I didn't really, don't think that I really heard about them. It's they are on the stock market, and they ceased their operations, I think, today or yesterday. In other words, they went bankrupt, couldn't pay their people anymore. And Zapata AI is a software company that builds industrial AI solutions. That was more or less when I went to the archive of the website, because it's no longer online. It's industrial AI solutions using quantum mechanics, quantum computing, sorry, using quantum computing. And I think with that combination of things, it's to the surprise of absolutely no one,
Yeah.
they went bankrupt. I don't think you can build, like, it's too early to build a successful quantum computing software company. I think hardware is
Yeah.
maybe something else. I mean, that's still a big bet, but software we're not there yet, right?
Yeah, I think it was, well,
Especially
do you
for
know,
industrial applications for AI. I mean,
do you know how
just
long they've existed?
no, I don't know. I don't know actually.
Yeah, I'll be super, I'll
But
be
it feels like
curious.
they just threw a lot of hypers together, and then they
Yeah.
hired actually very smart people. And then the hype curve kind of died out, and then they ran out of funding or something.
Yeah, sounds
It's
like
crazy that they were even on the stock market.
yeah, maybe it was like a Hail Mary kind of, let's get
I
more
think what they
people
should
money.
have done to be a bit more sustainable is to also mention the blockchain somewhere.
NFTs, blockchain, just
Yeah.
like start throwing stuff there,
Yeah.
see what sticks.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any money on Zapata AI, Bart?
No, but maybe I should have. Huh? I should have shorted it.
Yeah.
Predict the downfall.
And there's a lot of smart people in the market there, so
That's true. Yeah.
there's an opportunity for someone.
If you're, if anyone is looking for a quantum AI engineer, this is your moment.
All the people, it's like 1, 2, that's it. Cool, cool. Maybe some things that are more mature. I would say maybe Python. Python's pretty mature, I would say, but they still have some gotcha. So, well, maybe my personal why I thought of this week is I was working with overloads in Python. Do you know overloads? Like type hints, Bart?
Explain it to me.
So
In
basically,
layman terms.
yes. So basically, type hints. It's as the name suggests, is just a hint. It's not something that is enforced by the Python interpreter. It basically says if you have a function, maybe I'll share the screen here. If you have a function and you have x can be anything in Python technically, but basically say, well, actually this x is going to be, I'm expecting it to be a floating point number or an integer or a string or something, right? So it started as that, like just as a hint, just to kind of help the developers. And then more people kind of started saying, hey, we can actually use these things to do nice things, right? So like Pydantic is a great example. And then you can also specify the return types and all these things. So overloads get overloads. Let's see if I can find it. Overloads basically, if you have a function.
So the hints basically, like it's not enforced, but it basically is a hint to the user or to the interpreter. Like you can probably expect this type of variable, right?
Exactly. So, and again, that's kind of what it is now. And in Python, one thing you can do is having like MyPy or type checkers, which basically will look at all your code and say, well, this function returns a string, and the output of this function goes in this other function, which is expects integer. So there will be an error, right? Like you can expect something will go wrong because if these functions are used in the way that they're intended, then there will be an issue. So it's also a way to catch some errors or bugs, et cetera, et cetera. So in a ways, like if you're familiar with JavaScript and TypeScript, Python with MyPy is a bit closer to TypeScript in a way. And Python in itself is just without type hints and without the type checker, it's more like JavaScript, let's say. So actually, just that's to say that if you do want your Python code to be MyPy checked, you can also expect some headaches, right? Like you need to make sure that everything fits. And one of these things is this overload, right? So the idea here is that you have, and I have something on the screen for people just listening, you have a function called process, and then there's like an input argument, et cetera, et cetera. And One thing that can be considered a code smell is if your function return one type or another. So it can be a string or an integer, right? Because usually it's not like random. Usually this happens because the inputs are different somehow, right? So if x is an integer, the output is going to be a string. If x is a floating point number, maybe it'll be an integer, right? Something like that. So basically, Python has these overload decorators, which basically just kind of is supposed to cover all these cases, right? So say overload process if response is equal to none, then the result, the output of the function will also be none. If response is an integer, then the output is going to be a tuple of integer and string, etc., right? So you have basically a whole bunch of empty function definitions just for the types with the at overload, and then you have the actual function implementation later. So I'm working with the MyPy checked code, and I spent I think hours just trying to figure out why the overload thing wasn't working. And in the end, it's because if you have default function arguments with default values, MyPy somehow for some reason kind of expects it accounts for that. So even if I have a full argument that the default value is 1, MyPy doesn't always pick that up, so I can still get errors in MyPy.
A default value of 1 without specifying the type.
No, without specifying a type with the type hinting, yeah. Okay. But the thing is, when I called the function, I didn't specify the full value, and then for some reason, MyPy cannot infer the type or cannot infer that argument that new value that I am passing is not full, it's not something else. And basically, it's and to be very honest, up till this day, I'm not 100% sure why that happens or how to fix it, but I know how to avoid it, basically, let's say. And the thing that I came across, well, the thing that it made me think, I was like, yeah, what the fuck is this? Was this WTF Python? Have you ever heard of WTF Python?
No.
So basically, you can kind of think of it as a book. It is translated in many other languages, and it's kind of like a way to learn Python with just gotchas, kind of. I don't know if it's really to learn Python, but basically they have a whole bunch of examples. I don't know. And we can gonna put this on the show notes as well, and people can kind of have a look if they want to. So, for example, if you want to check equality in strings, or if you want to get ID of strings, sometimes you get the same values, or and there are other things as well that you can do. There's a whole list here, right? So the example here is that you have, I don't know, A is equal to WTF, B is equal to WTF, and if A is B, you get that as true. But then if you repeat the process, you get that as false. All right, I make this a bit bigger for you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's basically it's a whole bunch of these things, right?
Which can create these cases where you're debugging
exactly
a full day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's really if you look at the internals of Python, you can kind of understand why this happens and why that happens, but it's really not obvious at first, right? And then basically they kind of go over a whole bunch of examples. So actually, even if someone wants to contribute just by adding your translation to your language here, so for example, Dutch. No, this is Deutsch. Dutch is not here. So yeah, I think it could be also a fun way to dive in Python and also learn a bit about the internals. Cool. Right? A lot of stuff here.
Cool.
The things to stay away from, maybe.
Maybe just to come back very quickly to the overloading, yeah? So it allows you, because I remember you last episode or maybe the episode before, keeping less in your brain is better. It doesn't overloading go the other way, because overloading allows you to define a method in tons of ways. You can have this method that has an integer as an input and then an integer as a return, but you can also define the same method that does a string and then it gives back an integer, whatever, right? You can have all these definitions of the same method. Doesn't that make that very complex? Is it smart to do this? Why would you do this? What is a good use case for this?
It's a good, so I thought about that as well. I thought also in the JavaScript versus TypeScript argument, right? So I think the first thing you can say is well, if you write it down, the compiler will, not the compiler, but the interpreter will help you, the completion, right? You will know, if you call the function later and you have a variable, you can just hover over in your IDE and you know that argument, the output value is going to be X or Y. So in that sense, you keep less in your head.
But why don't you just make another method for it?
You could, but then there's also a trade-off, right? Like if you have two methods that do almost the same thing, but they just expect different input arguments, then maybe you're kind of duplicating things and you have to keep more in your head in that sense, right? I think it's like, and I think even I forgot the name of the guy, I think it's DHH, the guy that criticized TypeScript. They said that TypeScript takes away the fun of JavaScript. Then I remember in the article, very vaguely, yeah, he was talking about like type gymnastics that you kind of have to do to make sure that the
But the
thing is
JavaScript,
happy.
you very much need to do this, yeah.
In TypeScript.
In TypeScript, you need to
do this. Yeah. And MyPy as well.
I think I would argue much less.
Ah, really? Man,
yeah, so the problem with TypeScript is that you use all, like, you've tons and tons of third-party libraries, and they define their own types, and then you use something from this library, and then you get a typing error because you're not defining the right type, and then you need to dive into the code of this third-party library. Like, what do they call this type exactly? And like it's very unintuitive. Like at some point you're just doing it because it has to be done, otherwise you get a warning.
Yeah. I mean, I think, but that last part, the sentence, I think is the same in MyPy. Yeah? Like sometimes you just do it because otherwise MyPy will keep complaining.
True.
But I think, and that's the thing, and that's why I also like the metric of keeping less things in your head, because I also feel like it gives some leeway for, like in the beginning, if you add some types, that's good because you're keeping less things, it's there. But when you start doing gymnastics to just satisfy the interpreter and no one understand what he does, then I think it also goes a bit on the other way. That is also not good.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the overload, I think, is maybe a bit more in between. I do see the value in it, but if you have like 3 or 4 different implementations, then I also think it's not good. But it's a good question, good point. Some other things that I came across. Well, I had come across this a while ago, but I hadn't had the opportunity to try. And I think you're familiar with this one, the why data profiling. You heard of this one, what?
Yeah, I saw it passing by somewhere. I never used it.
Yeah, I saw it as well, and I hadn't used it, but I thought it was I had an opportunity, and that's why I wanted to bring it now.
Maybe before we go into because it's data profiling, right? Like, you explain what data profiling is?
Yes. So, well, maybe one thing that I used to do a lot, well, I guess you could still do, you get a bunch of data and you want to kind of see what's there. You want to get a feel for what data you have. A lot of times in machine learning projects, that's the first step, the EDA, right? Exploratory data analysis. So you basically want to see what kind of columns you have, what kind of types they have, what are the max, min, do you have any imbalances, do you have any correlations? So one of the things that's very common you see is the pandas.describe, right? So you basically get counts, like if you have N or F for male, female, you can see what do you have more, how many counts do you have, etc. Right? So that's
if you have a pandas data frame, you call describe on it, you get some statistics for every column to understand a little bit, like how does this data look like, right? What's the distribution of this data?
The min, the max, 50%, medium, average, standard deviation, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I usually think, at least when you say like profiling, right? Like usually you think of like, you get a sense, like you kind of get some more descriptives over a table, basically. And this is a tool that makes it easier. So today, I guess, if I have a new data set and I want to get a feel for it, the first thing I'm going to do is probably run something like this. So what this returns actually can be an HTML, it can be a widget if you're on notebooks or something. And basically will do all these things that we're mentioning, but they will also do like some nice plots. It would also look at correlation between columns. It would also do, it have warnings as well. So like this column has only unique values. This column has only constant values. This column has 100% correlation with this column. So it's a very like, and it's interactive as well, right? So you hear for people following the video, you can see here like a little GIF, right, of what they.
It's quite a when you're showing it on the screen, like it's quite an extensive report you get, right?
Indeed. So it's way more than what you would see with just .describe, right?
Yeah, you would have to do a lot of steps in pandas to get the same insights.
Exactly. So and it's really this is all that you do. Huh? You have the pandas data frame, and then you have a profile report object, and you just pass in the data frame. It has to be a pandas data frame. That's the only thing. And then you can kind of play around with it. You can kind of see, are there correlations? Are there any warnings or all these things? So it's, if you're doing exploratory data analysis, I think that's a very good, I mean, I had a good experience with it, let's say, right? And something that I'll probably even go as far as to say that I wouldn't use any describe, or I would just probably spend the first hour just kind of looking and clicking through the different things that they have there.
I'm quickly going through the website. I think like what is missing, or maybe I haven't come to it yet, is for people that are just like for experimentation, for non-confidential data, like that there is like a simple hosted service that just I upload a CSV or an Excel or whatever, and you get this in your browser. I think that would be cool.
This one, I think you can get it on your browser, or at least you can save it like it's an HTML thing, because yeah, it is an HTML report.
Like, it would be cool if there would be like a small GitHub Pages hosted.
Yeah, indeed. I think that would be super, super easy to do, actually. What was it? Automated PI? Yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff up. So I tried it a bit. I think there's more features I didn't try, but it's cool.
Cool.
So that's one. And one other one that I learned not that long ago is this one called SweetViz.
I never heard of this one.
This one I hadn't heard either. It's still, well, they have an update of November 2023, so a year ago. So it's not, maybe it's not the most up to date, but it's still maintained.
Interesting. That is, for GitHub terms, that's old. Like I also always, when I open up like a GitHub repository of an open source, I always look a bit like, what was the last commit? And when you then hear like, it was a year ago, and you think, oh shit, it must be dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's also what I usually like when they have also the first note here is like, yeah, maybe you should use this one. This is on maintenance mode or something. So I haven't tried this one yet, but it also looked cool. Let's see, medium article. I think that's the one I said. So that one doesn't have a nice README, but this is a bit how the dashboard looks like. So it looks a bit sexier, I feel.
It looks a bit sexier. I agree.
But I don't know if it's I don't know if actually it's nicer, right? But again, it's another profiling tool, right? Yeah. So you can have your data frame there, and then you can kind of click through and then kind of compare. Also, they show here the training test. I guess even if you have predictions on your machine learning model, I guess you could also throw it there to see if there are any correlations between the input and the output, see the balance and all these things, right? Even for bias, right? Like if maybe your model is saying that people from a certain gender are more likely to have the outcome Y or whatever, right? So could be cool. I think it's also a good use case for these things, for these very interactive things, like just kind of click through, see what's there. So I haven't used this one, but I think next time I have a use case for this, I will give it a try. What do you think, Bart?
I would go for the first one though. Seems a bit more
mature. I had the DataTopics, right?
Maybe the first one is a good. I haven't tried. Well, I did try, but not for something actually useful. Python in the browser. It would be a cool project. Yeah, cool project to see if you can build this fully in browser, fully client side.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if we could do. Yeah, I'm not sure because
I'm not sure how hard it would be.
Because also Pandas uses NumPy, right? And then NumPy is a C, and then can you bring that to the browser?
I don't know if there is a Pandas implementation that is.
Yeah. Also was another thing. So this has to be Pandas. So that's the other thing I didn't really like, let's say, because sometimes loading data in Pandas takes more than like Polars, for example. And actually, I was working with Polars, which is written in Rust. And I had to actually convert from Polars to Pandas just to use this tool. So it's still like minimal step, but like I thought it would be nice to use Polars. And one thing that we also talked a while ago was the narwhals, which was like a Polars API that you have different backends when we talked about Ibis as well. And since then, I listened to a podcast with the creator of narwhals, and he was saying that the difference between Ibis and narwhals is that Ibis is more for consumers, so people that are manipulating and creating transformations on data frames. And narwhals is more catered towards people that are building a tool or a package that expects to manipulate or simple transformations of data frames. So for example, why data profiling would be a good candidate to use narwhals. and by using normals, you automatically support polars, pandas, and other things.
It would be interesting because like they're both ibis and normals, like they're an API to your data, right, or to your backend, basically. But it would be interesting to see like what are the design choices that are different if you cater yourself towards end users, like data explorers versus solution builders.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, I listened to the podcast, right? I wasn't on the discussion, but I listened to it. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But also wondering what are the practical implications, right? Like what kind of trade-offs they make on the design.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And narwhals is a subset of polars as well. And like polars
is built in Rust, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, right? And apparently not everyone is a fan of Rust. So
not everyone is a fan of Rust.
Not everyone. Oh, wow, okay. Because I saw here my negative views on Rust, and I thought you meant yours. But but then I see you're outsourcing this.
Tend to agree. So it's actually an older article, but I'm also quickly gonna open it. It's a bit of an older article, October a year ago.
I like how the design as well of I don't even know if it's a blog post, right? But I think it is. But I think it's.
I like this. I like it from blog post. Maybe a good segue for our next. Anyway.
Anyways.
The blog post by Chris Dunn is the website. I'm not sure. Chris Dunn,
yeah. It's Chris Dunn.
It's called My Negative Views on Rust, and I think well, he gives a lot of good points as well. I think the biggest pain points I tend to agree with is that, and why are we discussing this now, by the way, because this was written a year ago, is because it was very much trending on lobsters.
Lobster.rs. Which is a lot of lobster.rs, which is also very popular for Rust projects, right?
Yeah. But one of the things that one of his gripes is that, well, it's very much hyped, right? It's very much hyped, but at the same time, like it comes in at a complexity that is more or less comparable to C++ or Haskell, a bit what he's mentioning. Definitely not Python or Golang. There's like this.
When you say definitely not Python or Golang, you mean in terms of
complexity?
Complexity, yes.
Right. Quickly building something is, I would argue, is way easier in something like Python or Golang. And yeah,
I mean, I agree, but I'm also wondering. I mean, it's also different use cases, right? Like, I mean, at least Python and Rust.
That's the problem. That is the problem. Everybody these days says, well, I think we were also there a bit past the hype curve, but a year ago, and especially 2 years ago, every new project had to be in Rust. And he's also touching a bit on this, because we were discussing polars. He calls it the rewrite fallacy, where I built this in Rust so it is X times faster than the original. Think about Ruf, for example, right? Think about UV.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the rewrite fallacy, how he's explaining is, and I agree there as well. Like, if let's say you would have rewritten poetry, not sure what poetry is built in Python. Not sure, to be honest. Not in Rust, at least. If you would have rewritten poetry with a focus on making it as performant as it can be, and whatever backend language you use for it, would have been more performant than poetry is now. If you do a full rewrite of something for something to be performant, you're gonna end up there, right? So I don't think there is probably something like you need to think about it less in Rust, and it will be probably a bit more performant. But just saying that is what you get out as the result is a bit like taking some shortcuts, right?
Yeah. I also, there's the whole argument of, it's faster to run, but also it's longer to write. So it's like, also everything's a trade-off, right? If performance is not a bottleneck, okay, you spend 5 years rewriting something and you gain half a second a day. Wow, is it working?
And he mentions a number of other things, and I think a lot of it is that's because it's hyped, and it's often chosen as the tool, while it's maybe not the best tool for the job. I think that is a bit.
I think that I agree. That I agree.
Yeah.
I like how the quote unquote friendly community. I like this one. I don't know what this is about, but
yeah, I think it's there's a lot of. I think there is a very friendly community, it's a very active community. At the same time, it's a bit. It has some ups and downs. There's also a lot of discussion on how the whole project is governed, which
that's true.
Which I think tends to come with something that grows very rapidly, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think that necessarily Rust or the core group is just something that grew so quickly that no one really knew how to manage it.
True. I guess you could say that this is a hot take, no?
I think it's a hot take, yeah. I think maybe we're a bit past. I think it would have been a very hot take 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think I agree, but at the same time, with the hype of UV in the Python world,
that is true.
It's a bit like,
that is true. That is true. Yeah.
So you're gonna do the
hot. Yeah, we don't have our sound effects with us now.
Yeah, indeed. Something we'll iterate next time. But yeah, cool. And talking about websites, domains, I guess it's the gifcities or.
Yeah. What was the segue again? Oh yeah, we were talking about blogs, right?
Say how you like this blog design, and maybe for people just listening, it really looks like you open your.
It's very minimal, right?
But I think even the font is the default. It's like Times New Roman. It's white with black text.
Yeah,
there's
less
no
is more, you know. Less is more.
There's no header. There's a footer, but then it's like it really just looked like he opened a new file. He saved it as a .html, like index.html, and then he just started writing stuff, and that's it. No CSS, nothing.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, you're minimal, but I think you like retro stuff. That's why you like this. You're minimal and retro, and that's why you like this.
But I wouldn't call this retro necessarily. It would call it minimal.
But it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not retro because like the font is like modern, but that's the default one, I guess. It looks like it's the default one at least.
So, yeah, is that your definition of retro? For like,
no.
The moment there's not a gradient in there somewhere, like it's retro.
No, not retro, but like it's on its way. No, it's like if it's a spectrum, it is a bit more retro than the average website, wouldn't you say?
Than the average website. Okay, I'll follow you there.
Okay. But what about websites?
Well, you have a blog, right?
There is something on my name, yes.
You don't want too much attention? Draw to it. How do you write the URL?
No, but that's not the blog.
Oh, you do, right?
I don't think there's a blog. But
Muril.io.
Muril.io, yeah. It's almost
that's your blog, right?
It's not a blog. It's like more, I would say maybe.
It's more of a bio, like.
Yeah, portfolio kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah,
okay.
kind of something like this.
Oh, it used to be actually a blog, right?
I used to have. I mean, I don't even know if it's still up.
It's more or less a blog. There's like no, they removed everything. There used to be articles, right? Or am I completely?
No, it's something. It was something
talk
separate.
About it anymore.
It was something separate.
Okay.
I wrote one, and I was like, "Yes, this is great."
That's the one I saw. The one.
Yeah. And then I was like, "Yeah, no, it's just
okay. Cool.
Something different.
But what stack did you build this in?
This one,
yeah,
the Murillo one.
Yeah.
Astro with Next.js and Tailwind and stuff.
Why? So I'm actually looking a bit like I was playing with the idea of creating my own personal space on the interwebs.
Like your personal domain? No, your professional domain. You have my professional domain.
It's something else. But I reserved a URL yesterday.
Domain squatting.
No, it's with the goal to put something there. It's Bart.
What is it?
.space. Bart's space.
That's a good
cool
one. Yeah, I'm gonna get.
And then I thought about because I had a blog back in the day. I had a blog that was visited quite a lot.
Really?
And I not necessarily want to restart a blog, but at least like have something where I can sometimes add something to. And the problem is,
hold on, don't move so quickly. How many people were in your blog before?
I don't know, to be honest.
And is the blog still up? Can I still check it out? What you were writing?
No, you can find it on the what is it called? The Internet Archive, fishyoperations.com. It was very much focused on R programming back in the days.
Yeah, the big time R. Fishy what?
Fishy operations. But the discussion I would like to have with you, like there are so many stacks out there, and I would like to go for something very simple. But like there is Hugo, there is Pelican, there is Astro,
yeah.
Which I think is too complex. I don't think you need Next.js and stuff like this for something like a minimal blog. And there are tons of these static site generators. What is the very famous one that GitHub pages use it? Jekyll.
Yeah. That's in Ruby, right? Ruby on Rails or something, no?
Yeah, and I actually found another cool one. It's called Publi, P-U-B-L-I-I, which really is like an application, a desktop application, and you make it in the UI, and it generates like it syncs the files to your GitHub or whatever you want, or an S3 bucket or whatever you want. So what stack should I go for, Marilla? What are considerations should you take when you go for a static site?
I have no idea. I just look, if I'm looking for something, just the only thing, well, a lot of the times I'm doing this to try to learn a thing or two, but the only thing is that I want to be able to write in Markdown. That's really the only.
Yeah, well, for me, exactly the same. For me, exactly. And then you often end up like these static site generators, which basically means like you have Markdown pages, and that can either be articles or like full pages on your website, and you have a CLI tool that from those Markdown pages generates a static site. That's where the static site generator comes from. And basically like a set of HTML files that you can then upload to wherever to host it. So very minimal, all a bit with the ups and downs. And I think I will go the Hugo way, which is a Go-based static site generator.
Hugo is
I'll keep you posted on that.
And Hugo is also, it's not like Hugo is not the sexiest and the hottest.
No, it's not the sexiest. Yeah, that is a bit the thing. I always fall for what's the sexiest today, and then I regret it later. And I think Hugo has become the safe choice. Hugo used to be sexy, but it's no longer sexy.
Yeah, but Hugo, how old is Hugo?
I'd like to say 8 years, 10 years, maybe even.
That's super old, huh? That's ancient for.
It's mature and wise.
Oh yeah. So you're going with Hugo, but then
something else, because I was looking a bit into today, and what I noticed.
Yes.
I went to my like an asset where I get some GIFs. A staple of the internet.
Okay.
In other words, gifcities. It's called gifcities.
Wow.
Gifcities.org. And it's actually like it is a place that hosts a tons of GIFs from the old GeoCities pages. For the world of GeoCities back in the day. Back in the day, GeoCities, it was very easy to create your own page, and you could customize the hell out of it. And like everybody had these retro. This was retro. These days it's retro, like GIFs, old school GIFs and stuff on it. And gifcities still hosts tons of these GIFs. And I noticed today it's down. Like you can press search and then you never get a result. So now I wonder who we need to notify about this, because this is like this is painful, right?
Well, for me it's just loading, but I guess it shouldn't be loading.
Keeps loading.
Forever.
Keeps loading. Something is down.
Whoa.
It's a big
There's
one.
No Git. Whoa. Oh, that's sad. Sad.
We need to notify the overlords of the interwebs that is down.
Yeah. Hold on, but like, look, maybe you have a. Service availability, Wayback Machine, other internet architects temporarily offline. Please check your official accounts. There you go, Bart. This found who you have to talk to.
We need to notify them on Mastodon. I'll do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the podcast now, so for sure they'll listen.
That's true.
For sure we'll get there, right? Yeah. But and you want to start a blog again, but
no, not necessarily a blog, just a bit of a personal space, and
space for
go from there. I'm also a bit intrigued by microblogging.
What is microblogging?
Like, it's a little bit like
it sounds like
Twitter.
Blogging is like blogging is a drug, and then you're just microdosing.
No, but like you have like just like a thought or a picture or whatever, and it ends up on your blog. But you own it a bit more, like, and it's not based on likes and upvotes. And
I see.
You have some of these pages. I think it's actually called micro.blog, which is probably the most famous one. And it's you can automatically cross post to Mastodon and Twitter and LinkedIn, and but you own your page, which basically holds all your things. I think it's cool. So yeah, but I'll keep you posted on this, how this goes.
There we go. Also here, microblogging for the people that are personal blogging that makes it easy to be social. Interesting concept. I guess like the Today I Learned as well can also be going there. You're also talking about component libraries. I saw this on a YouTube video from Fireship. Shed CN. Have you heard of this?
I've used it before, yeah.
I used it.
So
it's like, well, do you want to explain what it is?
Ooh, I'm not sure if I can give a good explanation, to be honest. Like it allows you to basically very quickly generate code for a bit of a predefined components that you can then use in, for example, Next.js or something.
Yeah. And it's AI generated.
Based on, is it though? I don't think everything.
No, I thought
pretty sure that it was not. No, I don't think so, to be honest. Maybe now there is. I mean, you can't do anything without something being the AI generator, right?
Yeah.
But and I think it's heavily built on Tailwind, which is like CSS framework, and it generates code for you that you can then include in your Next.js projects, React projects, or maybe even other types. I've used it in the context of Next.js.
I see. Yeah, I think maybe they
and it
saves you.
It saves you a lot of time.
Yeah. But I think this is maybe because V0 is AI generated. Right?
V0 is a UI component generator, AI generator from Vercel.
Yeah. So
probably
here
leverage this there as well.
Yeah, in documentation.
I don't think it's their core focus.
Yeah. But here it says open component in V0 for customization. So I guess you can still go there, customize it.
Cool.
And what I saw is that you can use the CLI. So you have a unique identifier for the component that you created. And then you can just kind of use your CLI, and then that component will get slapped in your project.
Exactly.
But that's not the future for you then, because you tried it, and because when the video really sounded like that was the future.
Well, how do you mean it's not the future for Next.js or the components in Next.js or
components? I guess.
I think a lot of people use it these days just to save time.
I saw this and I was like, oh, maybe I can be a front end. I was looking at this like maybe I can be a front end guy now. But
I think you can be everything that you want to be, Brilla.
Wow, you heard it here first, y'all. And I fall asleep today with a smile on my face. Wow. See, that's when we need the clapping voice. You know, the clapping sounds. You just go, woo! Yeah. All right. Cool. You know one thing that every blog needs and every website needs, Bart? Domains. In fact, Murillo.io is a very popular domain for tech. In fact, DataTopics.io.
Are you not worried about your personal space on the interwebs? Murillo.io.
Or Muril.io.
Muril.io.
I'm not sure. I think I should be. I'm not going
Why
to be honest.
You be worried this week about the future of your .io domain?
Because apparently there was a change in the geopolitical space, right? So the .io, so actually like a lot, I don't think all, but I think a lot of these domains, they actually represent countries, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So in Belgium is .be, in Brazil is .com, .br, in UK is the .co.uk. So basically, a lot of these domains, they are attached to a country, right? And .io is no exception, right? .io is from the Indian Ocean.
Well, right? It's actually the British Indian Ocean Territory.
Yes. And then here you see here on the well, I don't know if it's a TLDR, but when the British government announced last week that it was transferring sovereignty of an island in the Indian Ocean to the country of Mauritius, Gareth immediately realized its online implications, the end of the .io domain suffix.
Because this island was the last island that was still part of the British Indian Ocean Territory that holds the .ia top domain. Top domain is like the last part of the domain name, like .io in this case.
Yes.
And with this geographic territory stopping to exist, the question becomes a bit, what happens to the top level domain name?
Indeed.
And the big challenge of this, this is hearsay, what I'm not 100% sure how correct this is, but what I understand is that top level domains that are based on geographic regions, countries, whatever, they are the only ones allowed to have 2-letter top level domain names. So let's say .io, .be. Because there's like the easy solution to this is that it becomes a commercial top level domain, like you have .app, .dev, .space. They are commercial top level domains, but they are commercial top level domains today are not allowed to have two-letter top level domain names.
Wow.
So I think for it to happen, and it will probably happen because there's a lot of value entangled in the .io domain name, there needs to be an exception to this standard.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech companies that are on the .io domain.
Well, and if we're at the risk of losing Moril.io, I mean, people will realize that we need an exception, right?
Well, again, I'm sure they're listening to this podcast, right? So I'm sure they're going to make the right decision.
So that's interesting because this, I think, no one, when choosing their domain name, at some point said, yeah, but what is Great Britain going to do with this island?
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't even think of, oh, yeah, this is from an island, you know?
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
Yeah, they're probably just like, oh, .io, that sounds cool. It's like input, output and stuff, right? But yeah, maybe another thing. Oh, I thought I had opened this, but it's not. It's here. This is an article from November of last year, so about a year ago from now. It's also about domains. From the MIT Technology Review. So it's about Tokalau's TK domain. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, very much.
Ah, yeah.
Very much.
I hadn't heard of it.
I think if you would have been my age.
But when was this actually? This was.
Why I know very much about it is that from the moment that I don't know, I think when I was 16 years old or something, that is a very long time ago. You had I was starting to play around a bit with hosting and stuff like this. You had I didn't have I had very little money, but .tk domains you could get for free. So yes. Everybody got a .tk domain.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a bit what the article is also talking about. You know that you have the guy that Tokelau is like a very small country, so it's just 1,400 people there in the population, but there was like millions of domains.
Yeah, it was super easy to register. I probably still is. I don't know.
Yes.
And it was completely for free. So why would you not do it, right?
Exactly, stacking 25 million. So basically, like, yeah, and it's also a business, right? Like if you can host stuff and all these things. And that was actually a Dutch guy, I want to say, from Amsterdam, actually. So, you know, one of your people, Bart. That he was like, oh, yeah, I'll manage the domain for you. You know, I'll figure it out. Just give me a bit of the profits and all these things. I think he wanted to do ads. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I need to refresh on the article, but basically he thought it would be a good idea for creating these domains for free and giving to people. And he said, I'll manage it for you. But then, of course, a lot of people started creating these domains, but also a lot of cyber criminals started doing this for phishing and all these things. And that's how this tiny island, this tiny Pacific island became the global capital of cybercrime. And yeah,
how
basically.
How did they misuse the?
They mentioned like spam here, so I'm just browsing through spam, phishing, and other illegal activities.
It's very easy to get an identity on the internet, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I don't know if there's with I don't know exactly, and I think you know this better than I do, but how this also ties with like email addresses and all these things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I think basically a lot of people, and again, because it's free, like if you're spamming, if you're phishing, right? It's also a numbers game. If 1% of the people actually react to your attempts, but then you just increase by a lot, right? Like the amount of tries and the different types of domains. And because this was free, people just kind of went bananas, right? And there was no.
You can scale up.
Exactly.
So if you is a summary of all this that like if you get an email from Prince Jerry at Nigeria.tk, like
yes,
you need to maybe be a bit wary.
We're all related.
Twice before you set your whole checkings account, right?
Indeed, yeah. Don't. If you see .tk, you should raise an eyebrow. If it's not Bart.tk, then maybe
it makes me wonder if I would still, if these still are still active, or that they would have expired, the ones that I created.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure.
Delve into my email history.
Yeah, but yeah, basically the guy also, there was about a drama because the guy disappeared as well. So the guy said that he would manage. He set a lot of stuff up, but maybe he got like bored or something, so he just kind of left. And people from Tokelau, he also had a bad reputation for the island, right? So yeah, it was the article kind of goes through again all the different ins and outs and what happened. And actually, there's a audio version of this as well.
Nice.
There's a just looking here, I just forgot, but there's a guy named Vitaly here. I just wanted to highlight that in case Vitaly is listening as well. One of our dearest
colleague.
Yes. But yeah, again, it's one of those examples of how domains are actually attached to countries, to regions, and I don't think people think about that a lot. I didn't think. I mean, I still don't think a lot about that, right? But it's funny how a lot of things are rabbit holes when you start looking more into it, and how, like in this case, a geopolitical change in the world kind of could affect the everyday developer, right? So something to bear in mind. What else do we have? Maybe one last thing. Maybe ducks. You like ducks, right, Bart?
I like ducks. Yeah.
DataTopics also has a
duck logo.
A duck logo.
Some mascot, right?
Indeed.
A duck is a mascot.
So this is not something serious, but one thing that someone put there is also some Gen AI stuff, because I don't think we can really go through a whole episode without talking about Gen AI.
I have one more Gen AI stuff to end with after this.
Okay. Perfect. So basically, this is a duck imposter game. So this is, I think, powered by Mother Duck at Coalesce. So Mother Duck is the people from, people that basically is like a managed DuckDB, right, on the cloud and stuff. And DuckDB is the single machine OLAP engine, right, super performant, that you can also use it in Python and whatnot. And their logo, so Mother Duck, their logo is also duck related and DuckDB as well, right? So they created this Mother Duck logo. No, Mother Duck game. Sorry, Duck Imposter game. Whew, it's late. So basically, you have like two images here, and you just kind of say what is Gen AI and what is not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever passed the third level, let's say. Yeah, so see, I got one right.
It's just super difficult, eh? Yeah, you're showing the images.
Impossible. So basically, yeah, for
what does this tell us about society if we can't keep this apart?
Exactly, right? So maybe for people listening, it's like it's just two images, the ducks, right? And then you just kind of have to say what's the imposter here. You have to click right or left, and if you click the right one, you have another round, so you increase your score by 1. And if you get it wrong, then your game's over. Right? Yeah, maybe this also makes me think of a game that I was shown when I was younger. It was Japanese or Chinese, and it was basically two people, and you have to guess which one is Chinese and which one is Japanese.
It's a bit,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting that it's so difficult, right? The ducks
Yeah.
are not Chinese, Japanese, but the ducks are. The ducks
Yeah.
is super difficult when you show it on the screen.
Wow, you're really deflecting the second topic up, Art.
Yeah, I am. But
maybe also to give some more context as well. I'm half blood Japanese, and I think that's why growing up, a lot of people in Brazil, we have
that's
a
why
large
you are
community of
allowed to
Japanese.
discuss these things, right?
That's why I'm allowed. I can
Yeah.
even show you real quick here, so you can see here, and then you can say you have the two countries, and you have to say if the person is Japanese, Chinese. See, pretty good at it. I'll send this link to you, Bart, later, and you can play, and then you can tell me afterwards.
I'll
We'll
tell you
review the
story.
results next episode.
Ducks, yeah. So if 100 years from now, 100 years from now, downfall of society, when they narrate it, it will go like the first thing is we couldn't distinguish ducks from real ones anymore, fake from real ducks anymore.
Wow, ducks, I think, is getting really good. Yeah.
If the ducks goes, shit hits the fan.
If the ducks goes, I'm not sure I follow you.
If the ducks go, if we can't distinguish them from real or fake anymore.
What is real? What is real, Bart?
What's real? So, and then linked to that, my last point is that Adobe Firefly, which is Adobe's Gen AI engine, which generates, amongst other things, ducks, right? But still images they used to generate. They also generated vector art, actually, which is also quite interesting because it's something that's a bit more difficult. And they now also launched or announced, you can join their waiting list, an AI video generator. And the videos are quite impressive. Like, in my eyes, Sora level impressive that we saw some videos from OpenAI earlier this year. That has still, by the way, not gone public.
Really? Still secret. Oh. Yeah, so I put some here on the screen for us.
Cool, right?
No, it looks
they're short,
good.
right? They're shorter than the Sora videos, but what you can see looks impressive. I think the nice thing about Adobe is that they have like a whole workflow around these things. Like in this case, probably with Adobe Premiere, so you can take it much further than just the image or just the video.
This is really cool. It looks very well polished as well, and the style and well, yeah. So this
probably
is still the waiting list,
very
right?
much picked the nice videos for their website, right?
I was gonna say that. I was
curious
gonna say
to see where it goes.
Yeah, and when is this gonna come out? Do you know?
No, I will sign up to join the waiting list.
Wow, but this is impressive, huh? Like this, you see the sand movement as well, which I bet is something super hard to simulate. Pretty good.
And trained on content that they actually have the license for to do.
They explicitly mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because we saw I think, I don't know, some while ago, we also talked about this, right?
I think with Sora, they didn't give a single F about anything when it comes to copyright. I think when you ask Sora to generate the whole Simpsons series and episodes,
exactly,
you get everything step by step.
It gives you a whole episode, right? Like
yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. I'm also curious how there's one example here. Add a little extra to a scene. So generate atmospheric elements like smoke, a lens flare, or water to add to a scene. So I guess it's like a video, and then you can in the video.
It's a bit like in painting when it comes to images. Like you say, like, okay, this area of the image, in this case video, I want to add something to.
Yeah, but it's cool, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Really curious how well it will work. Very impressive. Cool. Be curious to hear. Maybe we can produce something for us to demo on the pod whenever this is available.
Yeah, it's good.
Very curious. Very curious to hear. Alrighty, and I think that's it. That's a pod for today.
That's a pod.
Anything else you wanna share? Any words of inspiration?
Then you're putting me a bit on the spot.
That's what I do.
Live free.
Wow. Or actually, you mentioned a good one. Like, you can be whatever you want. No, is that what you said? What did you say? You said that too.
That's like that. I don't know. We lost the magic. I think it's good that we end on this.
Okay. All right. Cool. We'll stop here. Alex may have to do some.
Now we're gonna sit still for 30 seconds so that we can edit in the outro sound.
Yes. All right. Cool.
You have taste.
Do you want me to bring it closer?
In a way that's meaningful to software people.
Hello, I'm Bill Gates.
I would recommend TypeScript. Yeah, it writes a lot of code for me, and usually it's slightly wrong.
I'm reminded incidentally of Rust here.
Rust.
Can you imagine if we're actually live this whole time on Twitch?
Well, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about large neural networks. It's really an honor to be here.
Rust.
DataTopics. Welcome to the DataTopics podcast.